lowest, greatest, highest, I will come to thee.
Can you imagine how boring and dull this world would be if every person were just like you? Everyone would like the same thing as you do, talk like you, and look like you. We live in a very diverse world, and we must never forget that no one is going to be our carbon copy, and certainly no one is going to view everything exactly like you do. This is certainly important to understand when it comes to reaching the lost. We must learn to have the same attitude as expressed by Paul in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 19. For though I am free from all men, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win the more. And to the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might win Jews. To those who are under the law, as under the law, that I might win those who are under the law. To those who are without law, as without law, not being without law toward God, but under law toward Christ, that I might win those who are without law. To the weak I became as weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Now this I do for the gospel's sake, that I may be partaker of it with you. Paul was following the example of Jesus, who made himself a servant to all as well. The reason Paul did this was so that he might win more people to Jesus. He was not concerned with people being just like him. No, he was concerned with winning the lost to Christ, and he understood this meant that he had to look beyond himself and do his best to accept people for who they are at that moment. Now, this in no way means that we pat people on the back and approve of their sins. No, it means that we approach each person as a potential soul to be won for Christ. Sometimes it's easy for us to relate to those that we are familiar with, like Paul did with the Jews, because Paul was a Jew, and he used to be very zealous regarding the law. So he had a lot to draw on when it came to relating to his fellow Jews. Even though he no longer lived by the law of Moses, he knew what that was all about. He would have to work a little bit harder to relate to those who were not under the law of Moses and to those who were weak. No matter who he was trying to reach out to, he did his best to be like them without sinning. The reason for doing all of this was for the gospel's sake. He wanted everyone he met to be able to go to heaven, just like he was going to go to heaven. This is the kind of attitude we must have. It's easy for us to get frustrated as we deal with people today who, at the moment, don't see what the big deal about the Bible is. Many of them just want to say they love Jesus, and then they'll continue to do whatever it is that they want to in their own hearts. For example, I just watched a video of a church service where all the people were dancing around with a song that was being played. It looked more like Soul Train than a worship service. As much as this disturbed me, it just shows that these are the kind of people that we will be dealing with from time to time when we reach out to the lost. Many of them engage in vain worship without really understanding what they're doing is wrong, because they don't read their Bibles and they just based everything on how they feel. I saw another video where they were doing a drama skit using hoverboards to move around as part of their performance. You know, it's going to require great patience on our part to reach out to people like this, but we must never stop trying because their lives can be changed. I know this firsthand as I studied with a woman who was really involved with this form of vain worship and thought that she was doing the right thing. But like a dry sponge, she soaked up everything I taught her about God and worshiping Him in spirit and in truth. And she was baptized here at Long Grove, and though she does not live in our town anymore, she has continued to remain faithful to God. And she continues to grow in the grace and the knowledge of our Lord. In fact, she tries to reach those she used to worship with the truth. So don't ever give up on reaching those who are not like you, because they deserve to hear the truth just as much as those that you can relate to.